And I will also record it. Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer West, and I am the Artistic Director of Muse West Concerts. And we are located on the occupied and ancestral territories of the Musqueam and Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh people. And we would like to say haichka to those people for taking care of this beautiful place where we live, play, and make music. Music has been made here since before Western civilization has recorded time, and we are grateful to be here today. My guests are coming from Southern California, beautiful sunny LA. Would you like to introduce yourselves, please?
Hi, my name is Eva Schaumkel,
And I'm Vijay Venkatesh. And we are the Vieness Piano Duo.
Vieness Piano Duo, and our audience is going to hear you and meet you on Friday. This is going to be fantastic, and I'm really excited with this program because there's some old favorites and there's something very new. A brand new world premiere called Under the Shattered Sky by Alice Ping Ho. And we're going to talk a bit about that piece later, but we're going to start with some lightning round fun questions. And we have to just answer as quickly as we can. Your favorite post-concert meal is?
Oh, pasta.
I was just going to say rigatoni.
He's more specific.
All right. And your favorite post-concert beverage is?
Mojitos. Oh.
If the audience doesn't know, they're married. So it's going to be pasta and mojitos after the concert on Friday?
Absolutely.
Sweet. What about Moscow Mules?
Oh, yes.
Those are delicious.
Good alternative.
Good alternative. Great. If you were going to take Bach, Beethoven, or Mozart's music to a desert island and you could only pick one,
Oh, no.
who do you take?
That's a terrible choice, but I'll take Beethoven.
I'll take Mozart.
I'm with VJ.
Well, so we can share.
Exactly.
There you go. It's very true. So it's so great to have you finally coming to perform in Vancouver. We started talks about this when concert seasons operated normally with a year and a half notice. We started talking about this in 2018. And I think, VJ, we almost got to meet at Professor Kahane's studio class.
Right. I just wasn't in town that day, but you made it to USC. Unfortunately, I missed you.
That was one, I'm sure it's the one time you've missed studio class, VJ.
It was probably. I always loved studio class.
Oh, studio class was great. So 4.5 years later, it is so exciting that you have flights booked and that we get to meet you in under 4.5 days or so. But let's let our audience get to know you a bit. Both of you have performed across the world. Where have been some of your favorite places to perform? And I guess you also get to visit those places too.
Right. It's a really tough choice because every place we've visited has genuinely had something unique and really wonderful people who have welcomed us. If I have to choose, I think Sarasota in Florida was one of our favorite experiences because we got to teach a master class, we got to perform, and we got to go to the beach in the same day. That's tough to beat.
Right.
That is tough to beat.
The Ocean Grove Auditorium in New Jersey, on the Jersey Shore, and we got to visit the pier, go to the beach. I guess a common thread is, do we get to go to the water?
Well, we're going to continue that amazing trend of being near water when you arrive on Wednesday. Have you been to Canada before?
We've both been to Canada. For me, it's the first time in Vancouver, and that's been on the bucket list for a long time. And of course, in the works with you for a long time. So we're really looking forward to it.
It's happening. For real. This is a wonderful question submitted by an audience member beforehand. And I'm curious about this because as a pianist, this is something I want to know. Did either of you have a particular interest in forehand or two-piano configuration before you met and formed your duo? Was this something you enjoyed doing before, or because you work well together and click together, then did you decide to work more on forehand stuff?
Well, we actually took a class, or I don't know if you did.
I did not.
But I took a class in forehand piano playing at USC. We didn't play with each other, but of course I was just teamed up with other people in the class, and it was very interesting and a great eye-opening experience to the world of forehand playing, which I really enjoyed. And of course, after teaming up with Afa, we became a formal duo, and we connected, we met, and then we started planning our personal and musical lives together on and off the stage.
Yeah, for me as well. I think the first time we really took it seriously as a professional duo was with each other. But for me, the experience goes back a long time, because in the first year I started playing, I was taught by my grandmother, and we would play duets together all the time, and we continued doing that growing up. So it's a very personal genre of ensemble for me, and I love, getting to spend my life doing that a lot.
That's magnificent, and I guess that's an encouragement for me to continue using the little two-line duets at the end of the method
Absolutely.
pieces.
You never know where that's going to end up.
It could end up playing the full version of Carnival of the Animals. Fossils sounds really difficult to play, by the way. There's so many notes.
Well, that's the great thing about forehand playing, is you get to share the notes, so things sound actually much more difficult than they actually are.
At the same time, when you play reductions from orchestras, you still have all your hands full, because you're playing all the instruments in one, really.
That's so true. And actually, that's kind of a great segue to the next question. How does this instrumentation of either, well, actually, let's deal specifically with four hands, one bench, because I think that two pianos is another beast altogether. I know you enjoy playing the two piano configuration as well, right?
Right.
Absolutely, yeah.
A lot of fun. That Brahms Opus 34, right?
Oh yeah, Brahms,
We've done that
the
one,
Rachmaninoff
yeah.
suite, the Danse Macabre.
Yes.
Right. And the Carnival itself, right? We're playing it in the four hands version in Vancouver, of course, on one piano. Last month we played it in California on the two piano version, and a week after Vancouver we were playing it two pianos and orchestra. So we're playing it in all the versions that exist.
It's a 500 a month.
Exactly. And it's such a versatile piece. You can just, do so much with it.
That's amazing. So a great question here submitted by a young piano student actually was, how does having to share the bench and the particular instrumentation for this four hands, how does it affect how you play? I know there's choreography. Anything else that we might not have thought of?
Right. I mean, they both have their unique elements, both four hands and two pianos. Four hands, of course, there's less room on the bench. Each person only gets half the keyboard, so it's very constricting. However, it's much more intimate, and the chemistry of collaboration is much more palpable. And one person always controls the pedals, usually the person who's playing on the bottom, the secondo part. So there needs to be extensive discussion, and you need to practice pedaling for the other person. And while you're on primo, you also have to remember to practice without the pedal, so that you don't get used to using the pedal as a crutch. And then you always need to be balancing and discussing how you're going to pedal and how you want to shape and timing and all that kind of things, because when you're playing piano and violin and cello and something, the timbres seem to match and mix a little bit better. They seem to blend a little better. But when you have such a percussive instrument as the piano, things need to be much more together and timed precisely. Otherwise, it can be very it can be a cacophony. So,
which brings you to voicing as well, which is
Yes.
very different when you have four hands voicing on one instrument. We're very much used to just being in full control of whatever chords, for example, we're playing, and how to voice and shape those. But it stops being a self-contained unit when you're playing together, and you really have to see yourself as one person with four hands and voice accordingly.
That makes a lot of sense. And a very cool question here that was submitted is, a lot of the music for four-hand piano, it is arranged, a lot of it, because I know the Dvorak Slavonic dances and the Brahms Hungarian dances, and we're going to talk about those Brahms in a little bit. But we find that a lot of these are not original compositions. Is there a lot of music originally composed for four hands?
There actually is. We usually have a split program of both of those types of four-hand music. The Schubert Fantasy, which we'll also be playing, is originally for four hands, of course, and the Brahms Hungarian dances you mentioned. And then Saint-Saëns is a little bit
It's a gray area.
is a gray area because it's arranged by the composer. So yeah,
Everything in between, including the gray area.
exactly.
So I really love a lot of Brahms music, but as someone who has Hungarian heritage, I find it really interesting that he called these Hungarian because they're really stylized. And traditional Hungarian folk music could be nothing further from stylized. It's very bold and has its own language. So I'm wondering, are there elements of Central Eastern European folk music in these pieces, or are they more Viennese?
Of course, Brahms, as you know, as a classical composer, put his own tonal language and style of writing onto that, but the thematic material, I think, is there. Not consistently. I know some of it is not actually truly Hungarian and it's a little bit of a blend of different things. But he did supposedly have inspiration from street musicians in Hungary and violinists specifically playing this music on the streets and picked up melodies from there. Of course, he turned them into kind of its own specific genre. But I think it's also up to the performers to then be creative with the interpretation of that and bring out that Hungarian Eastern European spirit with what you're given. So there's a lot of flexibility, a lot of fluidity with tempo, with phrasing, with dynamics, and just little surprises in the music that are up to the performer to really express.
That's really great that there's that flexibility in the Romantic era, and a lot of my piano students, when we come to that kind of repertoire, they sort of think that they need to keep it metronomic, and I say after a couple of weeks we can let go of the metronome.
Right. That's the starting point, of course, to get it as a student, to get it really, really solid and to play exactly what's on the page. And once you're familiar with that, then we can go off of that and take it further.
For sure. And now we're going to talk about this wonderful world premiere. Shout out to the Canada Council for the Arts for supporting Alice's composition. We couldn't do it without this funding, and we're really grateful. And we'll say thank you again at the end of the podcast. We're sending this to our grant officers. We're very grateful. Alice has been a friend of our organization for a few years and is just a marvelous Hong Kong Canadian composer based in Toronto, but we won't hold that against her. She can't help that she's in Toronto.
I feel like that's a Canadian inside joke. I don't get that.
There's a bit of a rivalry. There's like a rivalry between, well, Toronto calls itself the Six. There's a rivalry between the Six and Vancouver and Montreal, and we all know who wins, and it's Montreal. But Alice has made some wonderful music and has composed Under the Shattered Sky, and it's the composer's reflection on this conflict in Ukraine, and it's a bigger theme of human movement and migration, but under duress, under situations that are very traumatic. What has it been like preparing for this new piece and the world premiere?
Well, we're always excited to get to work with a composer directly. It's something we so rarely get to do with the repertoire we play most of the time, right? So we're really looking forward to, of course, we'll be meeting the day before the concert and working together with her and getting her insights on it.
The piece itself is very intense.
Yeah.
I am lucky that I have the slightly easier part, but her part is quite tricky, but also very fulfilling to play. It's wonderfully written for piano, but it's also a showcase of the powerful human spirit of resilience that the Ukrainian people are going through. It's very much largely inspired by old Ukrainian folk songs, and these tunes are really reinvented with new harmonies and really embellished with dramatic rhythmic energy and coloristic piano writing.
And it's interesting because it takes those folk melodies and incorporates them there, but completely puts them in a different light, in this slightly hauntingly beautiful but somehow slightly disturbing um, mood, I guess, in the opening, because of course the thematic concept of the piece. So that's what we're trying to achieve when we're rehearsing and discussing, how to interpret that and how to hopefully do it justice.
There's something for everyone on this program when they come to the concert on Friday. You've picked some of my favorite composers, including Brahms and Schubert, and that fantasy in F minor is no joke.
Oh.
In fact, it's 18 minutes of no joke, particularly the fugue. Do you like any of the orchestral music of Saint-Saëns, Brahms, or Schubert? Are there other solo works by Brahms and Schubert that you love? We'll start with Ava.
Solo works of
So any other works by Schubert? Brahms,
where to start? I actually, with Schubert, I really actually love the more miniature pieces, the Moments musicaux, for example. I think those are so wonderful and intricate, and there's a lot to explore with those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Schubert.
I frequently perform Saint-Saëns' Second Concerto. I've just played Brahms's Opus 118, 119 in recital recently, so those are works that are so powerful and important to me. Schubert, I adore his last sonatas and also his Klavierstücke. I mean, his impromptus are undeniably gorgeous. So I mean,
You're choosing
there's a
everything.
plethora of great
Yeah.
works out there to be explored.
That's it.
Both solo.
There are a plethora of great works, and it was really funny because a friend of mine texted me today and said, "So this Schubert guy you keep obsessing over is actually really great." Because my friend has made a 3-year project to go through all of the Spotify "This is so-and-so composer" playlists, which are curated by Spotify, and they do a pretty good job of picking what's what. And he started with a composer with A, like 2 years ago, and a year ago I got an update about how Gershwin is interesting. So I guess now my friend is on the letter S, and I said, well, obviously, but I said, what piece hooked you in? And he said the Unfinished Symphony.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, do you hear any elements of orchestral writing by Brahms or Schubert in the music we're going to hear?
Of course, yeah. I think a lot of the piano writing by both of those composers is inspired by chamber music and orchestral music, and sometimes very obviously, that's the flute, that's the strings, and sometimes just in the part writing that they have.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Brahms' solo works, like his Opus 118, number 3, the Ballade, it's pretty much a symphony on a piano. It's rich, it's robust, it's bold, it's thick and chordal. So it's fat and all the things that you would expect in late Brahms. So pretty much he's always incorporating the piano to be reflecting the symphony.
That's very true. Are there other composers that you enjoy playing as a 2-piano duo or as a 4-hand duet?
Oh, we've really made it through a lot of different eras and styles. I think
Mozart and
Mozart.
Barber and
we
some
do
new
a lot
works.
of Bach transcriptions by Kurtag, which are really wonderful. We've done Piazzolla, some Latin American dances when we did a program of all dances, which included, of course, the Brahms Hungarian dances, some Dvorak, and Piazzolla
And staples of Mozart, Brahms, Schubert, Saint-Saëns. We also frequently work with some new composers. Todd Mason is one of them.
Yeah, we did a premiere of one of his pieces here in LA right before the pandemic, which was lovely. We're doing some French programming with Ravel's Mother Goose Suite and the Debussy, the Petite Suite. So that's.
There's always more duo work and duo.
You never run out.
You never run out of repertoire.
You never run out on the piano with anything because people are still composing for it. There's a huge repertoire originally written for it, and you can basically transcribe anything.
I love En Bateau. It's so sweet. It just is so nostalgic. So beautiful. And what kind of advice do you give to your more serious piano students who want to pursue it post-secondary? If you have any of those. I know a lot of us have a lot of beginners and intermediate kids.
We do. There's a lot of advice, but I think one main thing is to, besides, sitting your 8 hours in the practice room, which we all go through in college, being creative with your career and with exploring different paths to finding concerts, to creating content that keeps what you're doing relevant, that gets you heard, that gets you playing with other people, play with other people as much as possible in whatever ensemble setting. Yeah.
I was always lucky to have great mentors in my life that really helped me musically, career-wise. So I would suggest always attach yourself to someone who really believes in you and can help you, because we always need help, especially in this career.
Who have those people been for you?
So many people: Fabio Bedini, Jeffrey Kahane, Norman Krieger.
Daniel Pollack for me was a huge part of that. My teacher back in Dresden, Winfried Appel. My undergrad teacher, Peter Bithell at the Guildhall School in London, who was so incredibly supportive in building me up at a younger age.
Amazing. So a fun question at the end. What is your favorite part about living in LA?
I feel like if I don't say the weather, I'd be lying. It's nice. But I think it's a city just of everything you could not everything, but it feels like everything you could possibly want is always around, and you can get to it within driving distance. Culturally and in terms of concerts, there's so much programming to just go listen. You can listen to somebody great every single night. The music, the food, the ocean, the mountain. It's an extremely versatile city, and you never run out of seeing something new. You never fully know everything going on. So that's what I love about it.
What about you, Vijay?
I love going to the Griffith Observatory. If I were to say something specific, that hike up there is very majestic, and then you're rewarded with a beautiful observatory, which is also very informational and educational, and the sights are beautiful, and it's a great place for a photo shoot as well.
It is. And I like stepping on the different planets and seeing what we see on the
I think my favorite part of LA is Harry Potter exhibit at Universal Studios.
Oh, that's great.
That's classic.
We've been there many times.
And I would take dinner on Manhattan Beach at sunset anytime. These are all amazing places. Thank you so much for the wonderful conversation today.
Thank you for having us. We can't wait for next week.
Oh, it's going to be fun, and we will present you with all of Vancouver's great food. Get ready for really great sushi. It'll be wonderful. And we'll just stay on a minute after this interview, but we'll quickly say thank you to Tom Lee Music for providing the microphone. Thank you to our editors, Stefano and Josh. Thank you to the City of Vancouver Cultural Fund for helping bring Vijay and Ava here. Thank you to the Canada Council for the Arts for supporting composer Alice Ho. My name is Jennifer West. I am the Artistic Director of Muse West and your host for Take Note. See you next time.